Hello and welcome to my latest Lean In Ireland edition, where we are talking about women and careers. And I have two fabulous women with me today who are massive advocates in the race for equality and have worked with lots of mentees and have sponsored lots and lots of women and men. And so we're delighted to be here today to talk about a topic that I think is very, very important to everybody's career. And that is about mentorship and sponsorship. So we go to Niamh first. Niamh Griffin, tell us all about you.
Thanks, Frida. Look, delighted to be part of this. I'm Niamh Griffin. I'm based out of Northern Ireland. I lived here for nearly 20 years. I've over 20 years experience in financial services. I've also got experience in the hospitality and airline industry. So, what drives me, I suppose, is teamwork, working with people, leading with people, seeing them succeed and delivering for people and having real impact. So I'm just delighted to be part of the discussion today and really looking forward to it.
Brilliant, Niamh. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And now we're going to Sabrina Dunn. Sabrina Dunn, tell us all about you.
Hi, Rita. Thanks very much for inviting me on today. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. I've lived here for over 20 years. I work in the financial services industry for over 20 years as well. I've led and managed teams within that time, working in a number of different areas in retail, technology, credit and transformation within financial services. And I'm an inclusion and diversity advocate. I sit on the Gender Balance Committee, something that's really close to my heart, and I just hope we can share some top tips today with people who are going through similar journeys to us right now in terms of their career.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Brilliant. And thank you both for taking time out of your busy diaries to do this as well. So together we're hoping that someone will listen and learn from this somewhere and take some nuggets from us. We're here to share our expertise and our experience, and hopefully the topic of mentoring gets a little bit easier once you've watched this video. So we'll go to Sabrina first. Sabrina, tell me about mentoring. What does mentoring and sponsorship mean to you?
Yeah, so I suppose one thing that's really important is to just call out first, Bridget, is because I certainly, as a younger version of myself, didn't really know the difference between mentoring and sponsoring, and that's probably something to share with people at this point. So, in my view, mentoring is getting guidance and advice from somebody who you trust, who's able to give you their view and opinion on how you should potentially navigate your career or achieve your goals. And then sponsorship is around somebody who often you've proven yourself to and has been a mentor, and then they're advocating for you. So when you're not in the room, they're speaking positively about you and giving you that sponsorship that's required. I found that it's been a crucial support when I look back on my career, and I wouldn't have always known that I was getting mentorship or I was being sponsored at the time. But I think now that you have the experience and insight to be able to put the words around the experience that you've had, it's really important to be able to give that back to not only your teams, but to colleagues as well that you're working with in different teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree with you, Sabrina. I think I got my first mentor about 20 years ago. And for me, mentors have made a massive, massive impact in my career and my life, I would say. So now, Niamh, we come to you, and I want to see what your view is on mentoring and sponsorship, and where you've seen, I suppose, the differentiation between the two as well.
Well, yeah, for me, there's so many different types of mentoring and mentors, and there definitely is a difference between mentoring, mentorship and sponsorship. For me, a mentor is not someone who walks ahead of you, but they show you how they did it. They walk alongside you and make it possible or real to you, to show you what you can do. That for me is what mentoring is. And the sponsor piece, I totally agree with Sabrina. That's more a case of they've probably been on part of that journey with you as a mentor, or seen you being mentored, and then become your advocate when you're not in the room, encourage you, suggest you for different, projects or promotions or different opportunities in the workspace. you know, as they come up. So that for me, and I really do think it's becoming more and more important, mentoring and sponsorship. Initially, I would very much be supportive from a mentoring point of view of taking on a couple of different types of mentoring, an individual mentor, seeking those out, and different mentors through different stages in your career, I have found have worked for you, because as you evolve, you need different things, and not necessarily will that come from one individual on your career journey. So it's just understanding that. But I think it does start with you understanding and having a bit of a vision of where you want to go at those stages in your journey.
Yeah, and I fully endorse all of that, Niamh. When I think about the amount of mentors that I've had and how different they all were, and as you said there, at different parts of your life you need different things, and some people think that they should just go and get one mentor, and that isn't necessarily at all what I would advise. And I'm interested to hear what your experience has been yourself with mentors. But mine has been the more mentors you have, the better, because the more diversity of thought you get in terms of the advice that they're giving you. And I've always found that the advice that I've had from mentors absolutely has helped me build on some of my existing experiences and my existing knowledge, and has helped me test my thinking. And I think they give you a very different perspective on what you are seeing. And the more of that you get, the more varied you get of that, the richer it is, because the more you get to test your thinking. What was your experience of mentoring in the past, Sabrina? Presumably you went out to get yourself mentors. And how did that impact your thinking or your journey?
Yeah, I think certainly when I look back at my career, at various points, you assess, well, what are my career goals, and what particular areas do I need help in? So I think there's probably a mix, and you're absolutely right. It's having a number of mentors. So as your career evolves, you need to look at the mentors that you're lucky enough to have, and are they able to help you to close out some of the gaps you might have in your skills or experience? And then when you're plotting out, well, where do you want to go in the future? Do you have the right mentors there to help you get there? So when I look back at there's a number of times I've taken lateral moves, to fill in various gaps in my experience. And some of those moves would have been made on the basis of seeking guidance from my mentors. Is this the right move? Do you think this is a good match? And also people who would have worked in those different areas, getting their insight to say, well, actually, yeah, it is a good move, or I've done this in my career, sharing their experience with you. And I think it gives you that confidence then to be able to apply for the role. And, sometimes you might be having a little bit of self-doubt. That's often when mentors are great at saying, well, actually, you're good enough for this role, and you have all of the skills and experience, and it is transferable. And I know, Breda, in my own personal experience, I moved from one organization to another, and I found at that point really, the test of having a really strong network, and also within that network having mentors, perhaps that you needed to draw on in a different way. And if I can give back even a part of that, I think, you look back in your career and try and guide some of your team and people perhaps aren't in team but are in the organization in a similar way, it's a really good outcome. I think another really key point is that it doesn't have to be formal. So I think often, sometimes if you ask somebody, can you be my mentor? They might balk at the idea of, look, well, what does that involve? Is it a lot of meetings? Am I now responsible for this person? Whilst I think it might be better to just, if you want to take that first step, to ask somebody for a coffee or a virtual coffee, and then to ask, can you run something by them, or ask for their guidance, and often in an area, that they potentially have worked in or are working in. And that's a good, nice way to start to build a relationship with somebody and to get some rich mentoring back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned virtual there, because anybody watching this will obviously be wondering, how do I get a mentor when everything is now virtual? And to your point, Sabrina, like reaching out to people online shouldn't be seen as anything different to reaching out by lifting a phone to ring someone to see will they meet you for coffee. But I think a lot of people have a lot of fear around the virtual world and feel a bit strange reaching out to someone on the likes of LinkedIn or even internal in their company or inside their industry. And I would say it's a step that I would ask people to consciously try and take, because especially in these COVID times, I have met some of the richest mentors I've ever had online. And that's because I have now access to everybody around the world. And I want to see who has done some amazing things on a global stage that I can learn from and take inspiration from. So, and everybody that I have reached out to has always said, yes, we catch up, or I've had a few conversations even via DMs, so direct messages on LinkedIn with people, or I've seen articles that they've put up or that they've posted and I've commented on it. And that's how I got the discussion started. So that's just a little by the way for anybody watching this that's going, oh yeah, I know I need a mentor, but I don't know how to get one. That's how you get one these days. And I think those skills are important to learn, because I don't think we're going to just go back to everybody in person very fast. So I think we've got to hone all our skills in this virtual world and get better at it and better at it and better at it. So Niamh, what do you reckon about your experience with mentoring? So how did that work for you? What difference has it made to your career journey or even to your life?
It's definitely a positive overall. And I'll be very honest, I've had some mentors and some mentor types of mentoring that have worked for me and others that didn't. But you learn from it and you move on. And you mentioned the word fear there, and it's something I suppose we're afraid to make a first approach on something, picking the right thing, getting it right. But this, like everything, it's give it a go until you try it and find what works for you. And once you do that, it is really powerful. I've had an amazing mentor in one of my earlier stages roles in my career, someone who I looked up to in terms of their behaviors, their values, what drove them, and wanted to kind of, could see that potential, and that's where I wanted to be. So in terms of identifying that person and making that approach, the initial step, it's like networking, it's, you're a little scared, you're a little nervous, you make the approach, but actually it was the best thing I ever did. And we built a really strong relationship. And while it was mentoring for a period of time, it became a bit of a disconnect as careers moved in different directions, but that person was still there as a sounding board future in the career, in my career. So yeah, I've just found it really, really useful. And I suppose one other thing that I mentioned was, and what I found really powerful in recent years, is peer mentoring and group mentoring, which is just, you don't even realize it, but you're there not only mentoring others, you're there as a mentor and a mentee. And that's why, to be honest with you, I find Lean In absolutely amazing, because you just get that group of shared ideas, shared expertise. Everybody's in it to support each other and to encourage each other and build that confidence that you need. And it also is a real light bulb in terms of reminding you of your skills and skill sets across a group, and maybe some that you haven't utilized yourself in a period of time, and opens your mind to the other possibilities of what you can do and where your strengths are as a whole. But ultimate mentoring is about building confidence, encouraging you to go for things, not waiting to have it 100% right as well, which is something, I suppose, taking the next step in a career. We all look at the job descriptions and see that the 2 out of 8 things that, don't have those, but, we have the 8 things, but we're really good at, you can learn the rest. Of course you can. So even just that realization, and having the ability to have a mentor, whether that's group or an individual, to bounce that off, to encourage you, to help you then, as Sabrina has said, for me, gaps in skill sets and things, and encouraging you to take on and those development needs and where to go to get that experience, and ultimately become a sponsor in supporting you to do that.
Yeah, some brilliant points there. And it's important that everybody is listening to this, is taking some of this away and thinking about that and then acting on it. I'm going to tell you a story. Many, many years ago, we won't say how long ago, I give away my age. But many years ago, I found myself a mentor. It was the first mentor I'd actually approached. And to your point earlier, it wasn't really a formal mentor, because Sabrina, you mentioned something earlier that's important, that I think when people, you know, are doing this so formal and they contact somebody and say, will you be my mentor? What does that mean? Does that mean that, you know, you're tied then to a monthly call with that person, or is it every week, or is it every fortnight? And are they going to need hand holding a lot? And, you know, there's a lot of questions that come in there. And the way I've always done it is a very informal, relaxed approach. And I find that works best. And with people who end up mentoring me, like the word mentor usually isn't even mentioned. Usually I would contact someone and say, is there any chance I can have a chat with you? And I'll bounce the idea off them that I'm thinking about, or if it's a role, or if it's a skills thing, or if it's a, you know, strategy piece that I'm working on. And that's how the mentoring relationship usually builds, because if they're interested in what I'm doing, then they'll want to help me, and they'll want to guide me, and they'll want to see it done well and be successful. But all those years ago, I rang this man up that I had been watching, and I knew was a superb leader and a brilliant, brilliant man at encouraging and building sort of skills and encouragement in people. And I asked him, would he meet me for a coffee? That's what I done. And he did. And I remember it turned into a mentoring relationship, but it was never called that. And I remember at one point, he actually asked me who was mentoring who, because I was giving him loads of ideas back. And I would put that out there because I want people to be thinking about that, because you can't go as a mentee and sit in front of someone on a Zoom and expect them to tell you what to do. You've got to be going with your ideas, your suggestions, and be clear on what it is you're after. But the moral of the story is that that man and myself had a fabulous, what was a mentoring mentee relationship for many years. And it went on for most of my life after that. And it crossed barriers out of work and everything. But his daughter ended up in a lean-in event that I was running, that I didn't know she was there. I didn't even know his daughter. And his daughter ended up being mentored by me indirectly, and I didn't even know it. And he let me know that. So that's the kind of beauty of, for a mentor to give advice and guidance to somebody, you can get it back, and it shouldn't be a stiff one-way experience. It should be a relationship that's fully rounded, that both people are equally expected, appreciated for their time, and both are learning from each other. And that's the way, and that's why I get so excited talking about mentoring, because I've had loads of those, and boy, have they added value to my career, my life, my decisions, you know. So Sabrina, we come to you for your advice for mentees. Okay, so what as a mentee, what would you expect them to come to you with? And what kind of advice do you have for them if they're thinking of trying to get themselves some mentors?
Yeah, so I suppose in terms of people who I'm mentoring at the moment, and one of the things that we've been working on together, Breda, is around, you know, that first step around considering their goals and where they want to go. So often just something as simple as plotting out, well, this is all the experience they have, where do they want to get to, what are the gaps, are there other people within my network that I can introduce them to help them fill out the gaps. So I think that's probably an important piece, you know. So they've identified potentially me as a mentor to help work with them, but how can I help then introduce them to other people? Because then you have a warm introduction. You know, one of the questions you asked there was, well, how do I find mentors? Or what you said, Niamh, about that initial first step can be scary, but often you can go to, you know, your existing line manager and ask them for a warm introduction to somebody else who they know and knows you. So like that's often happened to me in the past, and I think that's a really good way to find a mentor without that awkward, will you be my mentor? So you can meet for that initial first coffee. So I would say that's an important step. You know, look at your career goals, look at your existing network to help you find the right mentor in the first place. Make sure that you do want to be mentored. That's a really good thing for, I think, a mentee as well, because there's a lot of focus on mentoring and sponsorship now, but I suppose you really do need to want it as well. And if that means then you know, doing the hard thing of looking at yourself and looking at how potentially you could improve to meet your career goals. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to look in terms of self-awareness. You know, how do I need to change to meet my goals? And then I would say commit to it. You know, so if it's going to take a little bit of work, then it might take a little bit of commitment. But I think it's definitely worthwhile, and trying to keep it informal as well. I think, Breda, when you were talking through experience, often you build out lifelong friendships where it is informal and where it can be reverse mentoring as well. So the person you're working, the mentee, the mentor can learn from each other, and I think that's probably one of the most rewarding experiences for both parties.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Sabrina. Hopefully some of that has helped someone listening and watching today. So Niamh, to yourself there, around the mentees that maybe you've seen or that you were once a mentee, what advice have you got for them? How should they approach this, and how can they set themselves up for success?
Hard act to follow there, Sabrina, because pretty much you've covered the ground. I just reinforce really what Sabrina has said. One thing that's really important is networks, and not networks in the industry that you work in or current roles, but throughout your career, wider than that, the network of people that you are, connected to, the wider network, if you like. And really, I suppose, being clear on what and being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to be, looking at those skill gaps that you may have and the development needs that you have, and also the character and driver that will get drivers that will get you there, and finding that similar type of person that will understand that and support you in that, because that's really important. That relationship, while it's there to support and push you, you need to be able to do it in the fun, rewarding way that fits for you, and what way you like to do things and what drives you. So what are your values, I think, are really important. So a lot of self-awareness, I would say, in terms of understanding where you are and being honest. And yes, you want the relationship to be positive, but you also not to be afraid of being faced with maybe someone telling you where your weaknesses are. That's actually the best part about the mentorship, constructively, openly, but showing you the way in which you can address that is really the most valuable thing. And in a mentor and mentee relationship, I suppose that was the hardest thing for me in my first mentee relationship. We don't want to necessarily hear the things we're not good at or less good at. So it was about realizing those, but that person was working with you to address that, and just building your rounder skills and you as a fulfilling your potential in terms of what you can add, what you can do, or even just realizing that and then clarifying the direction that's best for you, that ultimately you'll end up in a role or in an organization that actually you fit with and they fit with you, which can be as important as anything. So from my point of view, in terms of mentor-mentee side of things, I've actually had a couple of situations where Sabrina had given an example. You need to want to be mentored. It is becoming a bit of a buzzword, and it's the thing to do. But you definitely need to be wanting to put the effort in. People are giving their time, and also be able to say, well, actually, if you're not the right fit for that person, just for both parties, you want it to work, so to be honest with yourself and do that. And that doesn't mean you wouldn't go and look elsewhere. You've clarified what you want then in that person, so taking that on and addressing that early. There's no point in sticking with something that isn't working, but then also encouraging more people to be mentored, and you actually get that back too, is really important. And as Sabrina said, actually, when you get into it and the relationship works, you end up getting so much out of it, as in both parties, whether you're the mentor or the mentee, and not just in your day job, but wider. Because if you're happy in that and you got your clear vision of where you're going and in the right role, then everything else, you know, your family, your friends, your relationships outside of work, your downtime is you know, it benefits from that too.
Brilliant. Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think we've covered a lot of advice there for anybody that's thinking about looking for a mentor. And what last words of advice would you have for them? Sabrina, we'll go to you just to wrap us up, and then we come to Neil.
Yeah, so
final bits.
I would say, Breda, you know, if it's something you're thinking about and you're, you know, feeling because of the current restrictions that it's something you know, you're putting out further, I'll do it later in 2021. I would say just go for it, do it now. Everything we've set out there, you can still do virtually. You know, actually, I think connection is more important than ever now. And so if that's holding you back, don't let it hold you back anymore. And just go for it and apply everything that we've said in a virtual way. Or you can go for a walk in a safe, you know, in a socially distanced way if they're within your current 5 kilometers. You know, I think those restrictions will lift as well, Breda. So just don't let it stop you, I would say.
Good advice. Yes, love it. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And Niamh, what last few bits would you have for anybody thinking about looking for a mentor?
Don't overthink it. Give it a go. It's taking that time for you. So I think it's absolutely just go, like Sim has said, and you won't regret it. Just even from the point of view of looking back and reflecting and going, you took the step instead of sitting wondering and in your own non-action going, I should have, could have, would have, but you will be able to say, I did. So that in itself is just really important. And I do think as we move towards another rapid period of change when we come out of all of these restrictions, organizations are going to be in constant change. So to support you and be ready for and realize your wider skill sets and what you can add to many organizations across many different sectors, I think mentorship is just going to become more and more important, more valuable. And ultimately, I guarantee if you engage as a mentee, you'll want to become a mentor and give back.
Very true. Brilliant. Well, look, I've loved all of those bits. There's some really rich advice in there. We want to remind everybody as well about the peer mentoring that was mentioned earlier, because the Lean In Ireland network is there for you as well to find yourself peer mentors. And in the meantime, around some of the advice around reaching out online, absolutely do that, because you need to break down the fears that are stopping you do that. So hopefully that has been of help to everybody today. And please do let us know, come back to us and let us know if we've managed to help you to get inspired to go and get yourself a mentor. We want to know how you're getting on. So for now, from Lean in Ireland, we'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Breda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Breda.
Cheers.